This is a public service podcast sponsored by the 712 crew and the good folks of Are We Recording Entertainment. Fellow Americans, it is... Welcome everybody to the special NCAA March Madness Tournament edition of the AWR podcast. I'm your host Brian, as usual. Here with a newbie, another Chris. We only have Chris's on this podcast. Eventually we're going to be all named Chris, and then we're going to wean out me, Ryan, and Josh. How you doing today, bud? Welcome.
Doing well. Thanks for having me on here.
Yeah, absolutely. Not that we needed you in an emergency or anything, but hey, you'll be back again. Chris, the OG, the original Chris, the first Chris of them all, West Coast representing West Side, the best side. How you feeling today?
Pretty good. Getting ready for the rematch of a game, the only college basketball game that I actually went to and saw in person.
Whoa! Which one?
Oregon BYU.
No, wow, good. Wow, that's pretty cool. This bringing up some nice little memories for you, some nostalgia.
I don't know that there was absolutely no defense played in that game.
Weird. West Coast basketball, that's so weird how that works. Josh, back like you never ever left in the first place.
Where have
you been doing? Let's hear your stories of your world travels.
I don't have any stories. I've just been out, man. Been a busy man lately. Back like Mace. I'm going to give a shout out to my man Eddie Huang. We've got a new podcast out called Monosodium Glutamate, MSG. That's my man right there. Got a show coming out on ABC, by the way, too. So.
What's this I hear you're going to Australia? What's the deal going on there?
I'm going to Australia next semester.
Get some more detail on that, please.
July to November. They have a new casting for the, what was the guy's name that died over there?
What are you talking about?
Crocodile Hunter? You're going to be the Crocodile Hunter?
There we go. Yeah, I got some new additions out there. I'm going to try to get on that. No,
That's what you were trying to go with? Jesus.
Oh,
that was
I'm going to Brisbane. July to November.
I should. All right.
You should probably know the guy's name before you go to the interview.
That's up to the Crocodile Hunter for not
I'm going to be that one guy
Hunter.
in the country, and I'm not exactly sure what I'm doing, but I'm going. So when are you going? What's the month?
July to November, I think. Or
This
July
July?
to end of October. Yeah, like a few months from now, I guess.
Wow. So you'll be our first official international correspondent. How does it feel?
Yeah, just satellite, man. I'll be in there.
We're gonna have to up our bandwidth or whatever we go over here.
Maybe kick Ryan out.
Right? Yeah. Sorry, Ryan. You're not gonna be able to handle the.
Oh man.
What's it called? The internet in Nebraska.
No one knows anything it's called tonight, apparently.
Well, now that you guys have a successful basketball team, do you think internet will boost up in use?
Well, you mean we got to fill out all those brackets, so they're going to have to handle that load somehow of everyone rushing on to fill out.
Of everyone putting Nebraska number one?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, I guess we'll just get going now. We're gonna go all tournament tonight. No, well, hey, I got. You know what? We'll save it. We're going all tournament today. Nothing. No talk about anything else. I don't want to hear about it. Nothing else. Just tournament today. You guys excited? You guys ready to get this started?
Definitely.
Josh, you got a stupid little smile on your face.
Yeah, I'm pumped, man. Can't wait for to win it all, so it's good.
All right. So let's get into it. Let's jump right in. Seating issues. Does anyone have any? I maybe have one, but I'll save that. Anybody want to jump in here on any seating issues they may or may not have?
I'll start. I think the big ones everyone's going to look at is Louisville in the Midwest, which is easily the murderer's row regional this year. Only a 4 seed. And Kentucky also in the Midwest, an 8 seed. I know Kentucky was down this year, but that's some disrespect right there for the Kentucky and the SEC. Other than that,
Kentucky should have been a 16 seed, dude.
that's kind of what I was thinking, but it's like still at the same time. I mean, I think that the only reason Kentucky's an 8 seed is because they want to match them up with Wichita State right away, because they gave Wichita State the toughest road.
The committee absolutely did their job in trying to make a story out of Wichita State by either knocking them out early and killing mid-majors for a little while, or giving them all these great teams to beat and pumping up mid-majors. They really did their job on the storyline, on the narrative with that. I mean, other than, let's see, I'm looking through this. You know what? I get it with Virginia as a 1, but I think Michigan. Yeah. I think Michigan and Wisconsin are both better than Virginia.
Considering we just trashed Virginia on the last podcast and gave every reason in the world why they shouldn't be a 1 seed, I'll give them some credit. They went and played really well in the ACC tournament, and they won the whole thing. That's pretty much what they had to do to earn that 1 seed. So I have no problem with them being the 1 seed. That one open, you could give it Virginia. You could have given it to Michigan. If Wisconsin bowed out before the final.
They shouldn't have gotten a 1 seed, but.
And Kansas wasn't going to get it either after they lost to Iowa State.
Yeah, okay. There's another. I think Kansas is better than them too. I think the only 2 seed that isn't better than them is Villanova.
I think Villanova got a little overseeded too. I could have seen them as a 3. Iowa State could have been a 2 for how they finished with winning the Big 12 tournament, and they had a pretty strong schedule. They did host Michigan. They did beat them, and I mean, they went through the Big 12, which is probably the best conference in America this year, along with the Big 10. So you definitely could have made the case for them. And Creighton, as a result, was probably a little overseeded too. They probably would have been more like a 4. To me,
Creighton definitely got that Big East love.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
for the Big East not even being what it is really anymore.
Yeah, they got the name bump. I'll give it to Creighton on that one. They got the name bump, but really, I mean, sometimes the seeding, you kind of have to look at the seeding, but look at the pairing, like why they're seated there. I think that kind of explains a lot of it. But I'm trying to see, there was another one I wanted to point out.
Well, Ryan looks. OG, you got any seeding you want to make?
Not really a seeding issue, but Creighton having to play Baylor in Texas in the second round kind of seems weird as a 3 seed.
What are you talking about? I have to play Baylor in Texas in the second round.
Or potentially. I actually have Nebraska beating Baylor, but just the potential of that seems kind of weird that you're going to give possibly the 6 seed a de facto home game over a 3 seed if they both make it.
That is kind of weird.
Hey, they did do the same thing last year with UNLV Cal, which was a 5-12 in San Jose, with Cal being 12.
Yeah, I think I remember that.
That is weird. I didn't even realize that. That's a good point.
I got a small point. I think it was kind of funny seeing Syracuse in the past few months. You think they're going to be a sure 1 seed, and they end up being a 3 seed. That's an interesting story with them and kind of how they've unfolded, and I don't know, not really played too well as of late. So it'll be interesting to see how they do as well.
They had the East or the Midwest and the South are absolutely brutal. From when the South got announced, they were announced first, and they just kept announcing these great teams. I'm just like, God. And then they dropped the Midwest on you, and it's even more brutal. Like those I don't know how they stacked both those regions, and then the West isn't really that. I mean, you got Arizona and Wisconsin, but I mean, really, it kind of. I mean, maybe I'm overrating Wisconsin here, but it kind of falls off a little bit.
The West is a pretty weak regional. I think they said in the bottom half there's no team outside or inside the AP top 10. I found the 2 seedings I also want to talk about. BYU at 10 and Dayton at 11. Both those teams avoid play-in games, which both those games were announced before Nebraska went. Made it for some very nervous Husker fans. Thought for sure we were heading to Dayton when those 2 seeds got a match.
I don't think BYU should even be in the tournament, to be honest.
Wow.
Yeah, the West Coast Conference sucks. I mean, let's say it. It does, and they have like one non-con win that you could really put out and say it's good, and that was against Texas. And yeah, I mean, if it came down to BYU and SMU, I think you'd give it to SMU. But we'll get into that when we talk about snubs. If we have any.
I mean, anybody else have any seating issues we need to talk about? Other than, I think they did a pretty decent job. Other than a handful of things, they got a little hamstrung with Michigan not winning the Big Ten tournament, because I feel like if they won it, they would have been the 1 seed instead of Virginia, and then when they lost it, they kind of couldn't necessarily do that. But other than that, I don't see any other issues.
And then they stuck, they lose the Big Ten tournament, and then they stick them in the Midwest, where they could have put them in the East and flipped out Villanova.
Brutal. Okay, does anybody think Louisville was only a 4 so they could stick him in Wichita's bracket to beat them? I mean, maybe that's my conspiracy theory coming out, but
I'm with you on that one. I think that they gave Louisville a 4 seed to stick him in an early matchup with Wichita State potentially. And if Wichita State doesn't make it, then Kentucky and Louisville, so they win either way.
Okay. All right.
One second. I think it was partly that, but also as evidenced by the SMU possible snub. I think the committee hated the American Conference this year.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But I mean, do you blame them though? That's really the thing.
Well, no, but I'm saying that I think that has something to do with Louisville being a 4 seed too.
Yeah, you're right. That's a good point. Anybody else got anything else before we move on to snubs? Which I don't necessarily. I guess anybody. SMU is the only really team that has a case potentially. I mean, is there anybody else that you can think of that I'm missing that has a legit case, not like
the only other team I can bring up is UW Green Bay.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't really know their resume. I know the CBS guys last night. I think it was Seth Davis pointed it out. Or not Seth Davis. Is that right, Seth Davis? I can't think.
He's also the one that freaked out and said Louisville should have been a 1 seed.
Yeah, well, but I know he brought up UW Green Bay. I have no idea what their schedule looks like or anything like that. I know SMU, they had a good year, but playing in the American diminished their resume, and they didn't play really anyone. They had a sub 300 out of conference RPI. Like that, it was just a bad non-con. So, I mean, at the end of the day, you could say they have no one to blame but themselves, but I mean, I think they probably still should have got in. Maybe in a play-in game over. I don't really know. Yeah, in a play-in game, there's really one to bump because Cal Poly is that's a automatic bid. So, but I think like we said, BYU probably if you have to put BYU SMU head-to-head, you give SMU every day. Except for yesterday, evidently.
3.0, you got anything to add?
UW Green Bay was 4-3 versus the RPI top 100. Their strength of schedule was 155. Non-conference RPI was 135th. Non-conference strength of schedule was 56. 56th, rather, so even better. So, I mean, yeah, they didn't play in the greatest conference, but like Mid-10 State last year, they probably could have been in, but other than that, and SMU, I guess, even though I think that, like Ryan said, their non-conference was pretty terrible. It was 303 in terms of strength of schedule in the country out of like 351 teams. There's no real major snubs this year.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. There's usually like a lot of hubbub about like at least 3 or so teams that could have gotten in, or they're all pissed off that they didn't get in or something. Yeah. But this year there's kind of like it's more of like a calm in that front, which is interesting.
Well, I think the play-in games kind of soothe that a little bit this year, especially because you get NC State in, who everyone thought was out for sure. Then they beat Syracuse in the ACC tournament, and then all of a sudden they're vaulted in. Tennessee's in, Iowa's in, Xavier's in the play-in games. I mean, you look at some of those teams without those play-in games, they'd be out, and they'd be in a bad spot, we'd be talking about, is NC State a snub? Is Tennessee a snub? But now they have the chance to play themselves in.
Yeah, no, I agreed. I like it too. I'm absolutely okay with the playing games. Josh, do you have anything to add? You've been silent for a while. I don't know what you're doing. Are you picking your nose, digging for treasure?
You guys touched on it all. I mean, there really wasn't much, too much clamor about any teams being missed out or anything. So.
Agreed. It's kind of weird how that works this year. Usually it's such a big deal, but. So should we get into picking some games? Should we make our AWR official bracket now? You guys ready to go?
Let's do it.
Yes.
Let's start with the playoff games, yeah? Or playoff games. The play-in games, yeah?
Works for me.
Albany, New York, the capital, versus Mount St. Mary's. Let's go around.
I went Albany just because I have experience from last year.
Okay. I'm okay with that.
I really have no clue, but I'm giving Mount St. Mary the win because Albany's jerseys were disgusting.
Hey, that's a legit enough reason as any, man.
If I was a girl picking like colors of uniforms, I would definitely not pick Albany. Those were terrible.
Let's be real. 3.0, what do you got?
Give me Mount St. Mary's. Albany's pretty bad offensively. I'll give Mount St. Mary's the slight edge, I guess.
And Ryan, to break the tie, it's at 2-2 right now.
Put it up, Mount St. Mary's. Moving on.
All right. NC State at Xavier. My confirmation name is Xavier, so I'm going to go ahead and go with them.
That's also a reason to pick a team.
I mean, let's be real. Neither of these teams are winning that next game, so at least in my opinion.
Give me Xavier. I don't think State has the experience. I don't know. I just don't see them winning. I can't see them taking it over.
That's 2 for Xavier.
I want to pick NC State so bad. Like, I want to believe.
You really shouldn't be laboring over a play-in game.
I know, that's what sucks. Wait till we get to Iowa, Tennessee.
Good God.
You know what? Give it to me, NC State.
All
Put
right.
one guy for NC State.
Let's get the Chris's opinion here.
I'm a Big East guy. Watched a lot of Xavier. Same as Kristen and Matt Steinbrook are pretty good, but I'm going Wolfpack too. DJ Warren will be the difference.
I'm loving these close ones here. OG to break the tie.
I will break the tie for the team that you have a personal connection with, apparently, Brian.
That works for me. It works for me. All right, next up, we have Texas Southern, the first all-black starting five, against Cal Poly.
I don't think that was this year, was it?
No, that was this year. Oh, that was last year, actually. 2013. They were the first all-black starting five. I'm not starting this one. It's not my turn to start.
I don't know enough about these two teams, but give me Cal Poly. They're about to win it.
Win it all? The shocker pick? Are you doing it right now?
That would literally be started from the bottom.
Oh, God.
They're the worst.
I hear they got a nice campus.
I'm gonna take Texas Southern because Cal Poly is literally the worst team in the tournament.
What was the record, like 13-19 or something weird like that? Or is that them, or is that a different team?
Yeah, that is them. They got that automatic bid.
Okay.
Not only is Cal Poly the worst team in the tournament, they try not to play offense until like 10 seconds left on the shot clock, so they are boring to watch and the worst team in the tournament.
Oh. So I'm guessing you're going with...
I'm going with Texas Southern.
Oh, okay.
I am going Cal Poly. Texas Southern is actually the worst team in the tournament by Ken Pomeroy, at least. They are absolutely awful.
That's kind of racist.
Defensively, they're giving up over 112 points per 100% possessions. You think Cal Poly will still be under 500 to win?
You know what? I'm gonna go with the Cal Poly because just representing the future home of myself. So I'm gonna break the tie and go with Cal Poly. Give me that under 500 team, the sneaky under 500 squad. And the big playing game. Too bad Brad's not here to pick this one wrong. So
Wait, did Texas Southern come out? Did we get Texas Southern on that last one?
no, we got Cal. I broke the tie with Cal Poly.
Oh, you were the tiebreaker. Okay.
Oh yeah.
thought you
Let's go to the next one. Iowa, Tennessee, for the last playing game. Probably the two best playing teams, I guess you could say, or at least the best draw.
On the surface, this is the best play-in game since we've had them, like the first four, because whoever wins this game has a very legitimate shot of winning their first or their technically second round game. Like you could pick them. They'll play. Whoever wins this game will play UMass. I was on a slide, man, and I don't see him fixing it by Wednesday or whenever they play. So give me the Vols, Rocky Top.
I'm still an Iowa believer. I'm sticking with my Hawkeyes. Big Ten pride.
I'm gonna take Tennessee. I think. Yeah, I like Tennessee's team. I think they could do some damage, but I just don't see Iowa turning around anytime soon.
I agree. Iowa's just been laughably bad the last few weeks of the season. No real shot to turn it around. Just seems like comparatively to baseball, when the Texas Rangers had that division lead, and then they choked it away and then lost in the one-game playoff. So give me the Vols.
And OG, not that it matters, but let's get your thoughts on this. Let's get your pick.
I had Iowa, but I seriously might change my mind before it starts. I'm like Ryan on the first playing game with this one.
There you go. So Tennessee moves on. All right. How do you think we guys should do it? Should we do each region separately, or just go through the whole thing?
Let's do region.
Yeah, I'll say go region by region.
Region by region?
Okay.
Where should we start? Ryan, you pick.
I got the South first. We'll start with the South.
All right, let's start with the South. Florida at Mount St. Mary. Should we just move Florida forward? Should we just not even bother with the 116?
Continue on.
Gator bait.
Yeah, all right. That's what I figured. All right, next game. Colorado at Pittsburgh. Not at. I don't know what I'm talking about. But the 8-9 matchup. Colorado-Pittsburgh. Who do we got?
Well, if recent March Madness has taught you anything, it's you don't pick Pittsburgh in March. So I'm going with the Buffs here.
I'm gonna take Pitt. I think they have a little too much offense for Colorado.
Which is weird to say Pittsburgh has too much offense for anybody.
Yeah, seriously.
But yeah, give me Pitt. That's a good game though.
Give me Lamar Patterson and the Pittsburgh Panthers. I think Colorado's just a different team without Dinwiddie. So I think that proves to be the difference, unfortunately, for the Buffs.
OG?
I will go with Pitt as well. As the other Chris said, Colorado just never really recovered from losing Dinwiddie, and don't think they'll do it here either.
Yeah, I'm not big on teams without their best guy in the tournament. I think you need your best guy to play well to win tournament games, so I'm going to also move Pitt forward. Next up, the VCU Stephen F. Austin 5-12 matchup. Are we picking the 12 here, guys, or are we sticking with VCU? I'm going to go with VCU. I don't think that I'm sticking with them.
I got Stephen F. Austin.
Really?
Same here.
Any particular reason? Oh, all right.
Yeah, Stephen F. Austin is a like a 5. It's like a VCU 5 seed disguised as a 12 seed. A very good matchup for them with VCU. I see them taking it. They're a very good team.
OG?
I went with VCU on this one.
Josh, tiebreakers on you, bud.
Yeah, I think VCU's defense is too much. I'm taking VCU, but this definitely has potential for upset.
See, I don't know. I don't know where this upset is coming from. I think VCU is I'll take the well-coached team. I love me some Shaka Smart, so I'm gonna stick with them.
It's no knock on VCU. I just think Stephen F. Austin's a very good team that could pick them off.
You said VCU, right, Josh? I didn't write that down wrong, did I?
Yeah, he took VCU.
All right, VCU moves on. UCLA Tulsa. This is my upset special.
Ooh.
I'm gonna go with Tulsa in this one. I've only watched the one game of theirs, and that was their conference tournament championship game. And I don't know. I just like something about they got spunk. I like a team with spunk, and UCLA has no spunk at all. So give me Tulsa based on spunk alone. I'm gonna stop saying the word spunk now.
I'll take UCLA. I think they're really hot right now, playing real well as of late. I think they'll continue rolling.
I like UCLA too. I don't think spunk will come into play here, so give it a Bruins.
All right, we'll see. We'll see about the spunk.
Two things can happen here. One, UCLA can win, and if they do, I think they go to the Sweet 16.
Oh,
Two, Steve Alford happens, and they lose to Tulsa. I am going with the form. UCLA wins.
I'm going UCLA too. I was kind of hesitant about Steve Alford, but they also just won the championship game in the Pac-12, which I give a little bit more credit to than winning the Conference USA, I think, is Tulsa
Yep.
still in,
Conference USA.
which that's been totally decimated at this point.
all right. Well, I mean, I guess I can see what you guys are going with, but I'm still sticking with my Tulsa pick. But UCLA moves on. Let's go the battle of the Ohio, Dayton, Ohio State. Here, I got another upset here. I have a source that says that Dayton very much has wanted to play Ohio State and hasn't gotten the opportunity to, and Ohio State is I don't think good at all. Good in terms of winning a tournament game because they just can't. They just can't score. And I'm not a big Aaron Kraft guy, so
Is anyone?
this will be the last time I ever have to watch Aaron Kraft, and I cannot wait.
From the moment this matchup flashed on the screen, I think everyone who was watching the selection show immediately pointed to it and said upset. Like that, everyone's first upset pick of the year. Despite that, I still pick the Buckeyes. I think it's a one possession game at the end. It's true that Dayton has wanted to play Ohio State a long time, but Thad Matta keeps ducking him. So I say it's a close game, but I still think the Buckeyes pull it out. But we won't have to deal with Aaron Kraft too much longer after that.
Thank God.
I'm taking Dayton in the upset. I don't think Ohio State's good enough.
Ohio State really needs to watch out. They play really good defense, but if Dayton scores, and they are a pretty efficient team when it comes to scoring a lot, 113.4 points per 100 possessions this year, 30th in the country. Ohio State, 122nd in the country, only scoring 107. That's only 3 points above the Division I average. Give me Dayton.
I like it. And OG, not that it matters, but let's hear your thoughts.
So Dayton's already moved on?
Dayton
Is
has
that
moved
what-
on.
Okay. I went with Ohio State. I think Aaron Kraft will have his last signing moment of
Oh,
his
that dude
career.
deserves no shining moments. He deserves only dull moments from here on out. I'm sure he'll have a successful career in something or something. I don't really care, but it's
He's probably going to go grow in something other than sports, is what you're thinking?
Yeah, he'll be one of those kids.
and hopefully I never have to deal with him. He'll probably end up being my boss someday somewhere, just based on the fact that I've hated on him for the last 19 years he's been in college. So, regardless,
I believe
Dayton
it's
moves on.
20.
Let's go. Let's move on. Syracuse, the former number one team in the land, against Western Michigan. Anybody with the upset here?
No.
Oh, I got cues.
Hughes
I
is
have-
in the house.
I have Cuse just for the sole fact that the worst New Year's I ever spent was on the campus of Western Michigan, and I'm still salty about it. So I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna pick anybody. I mean, do I even have to count it? Josh, do you have anything? Any
Nope.
crazy?
Hughes goes on.
All right. New Mexico against the first nerd team, Stanford, the West Coast nerds. I'm going to stick with New Mexico. I think they're going to have a little chip on their shoulder after what happened to them last year. So
I very badly want to pick Stanford in this game, but I just can't. So I got the Lobos. Moving on.
I'm taking the Lobos too. I don't think Stanford's good enough on the defensive end to hold their own, so I think Lobos move on.
Lobos.
OG, you got some crazy shit up your sleeve?
I actually picked Stanford in my bracket. I picked against them for the blog preview thing, and it bit me big time. So I will not do that here. But then I also kind of forgot that New Mexico had Steve Alford last year and doesn't have him this year, which probably will help.
Probably
their chances
help.
greatly.
Yeah.
All right, so New Mexico moves on. We've only got we got 2 upset. I mean, 9 over 8 doesn't count. Okay, so moving on, Kansas, Eastern Kentucky. Should I just move Kansas forward here?
Yeah.
Rock chalk.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So stick with the South, you guys say? Just stick with the regions?
Yeah, that's
All
Yeah.
right. Florida against number 9 Pitt. I got UF moving on.
Gator bait
Yeah.
before it goes on.
Gators.
Gator chomps all over, huh?
Yep.
Okay. VCU at the least spunky team in the tournament, UCLA. Spunk
taking-
versus non-spunk again. UCLA keeps running into spunk so far.
I'm taking UCLA. I think they make the Sweet 16. I think they stay hot for one more game.
Yeah, I'll take the Bruins in that matchup too.
I'll take the Bruins too. I think this will be a fascinating matchup though with VCU's defense and UCLA's offense.
3.0. You good? What do you got?
Give me the Bruins.
I mean, I guess if we're gonna go with this VCU versus UCLA, I guess I'm gonna stick with the group and go UCLA, even though I don't think that they are moving that far in my own. But this is ours, so we're gonna keep it going. Syracuse for Dayton, or Dayton against Syracuse, the 11 versus the 2. Does anybody have the Dayton Flyers keeping the dream alive?
Think
Nope.
that's a no.
I think that is a no. I'll take the Crickets as a no.
Watch that. I have a feeling that may happen though. Just keep an eye out for that one. That's all I'm saying.
I think the thing with Cuse is they're gonna end up losing, but they're gonna lose to like a good team. They're not gonna get upset. They're too well coached, and the zone is too weird for like one of those small teams. I think. So, Cuse across the board, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Cuse moves on. New Mexico against Kansas. I'm gonna stick with Rock Chalk here.
Chalk it
Yeah,
up.
got
I know
KU.
OG's got something to say. I know he's got something with this one.
I have Kansas too, but I didn't even have New Mexico in this game. So
Okay. Look at us going chalk. Real ballsy here, guys. We're all in all getting real ballsy here. Florida against UCLA. This might get a little interesting. Josh, I'm going to let you start since I know you're picking UCLA.
I think, yeah, exactly. No, I think Florida rolls. I mean, that would be a good game. I mean, again, UCLA's been playing well, but I think Florida wins.
I like Florida too. Closer than I think you would expect, though.
Yeah, this might be that game that Florida kind of has to buckle down in the last minute and a half or so.
And that
Just so
might not
you-
be a bad thing for them. It might be good to get a good test before they Elite Eight.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
3.0.
I like Florida too. I think that their defense is just going to be a little bit better that night, but it's definitely going to be a good one in Memphis.
OG, you got your West Coast boys, or are you sticking with Florida?
I'm sticking with Florida too, but if UCLA plays like they did against Arizona on Saturday, they might have a chance.
All right, I guess it's Florida across the board here. Cuse against Kansas. This is where this is where it might get interesting a little bit for people.
For sure.
Let's go with 3.0. You start us off. What do you got here?
This one's kind of tough because it really, I think, depends on how healthy Embiid is and if he plays. I personally don't think that he's going to play a single game in this tournament. no matter how long Kansas is in. I think it's back to me alien too much.
Is there an official word on him? Is there like an official word from Kansas?
They keep
or is
saying
it all
like
speculation?
second weekend is the speculation because they only said that he was ruled out for the first weekend. But I mean, at that point, is there any real risk in harming him even more as the NBA draft looms? So I don't know if he's going to play again this season.
So there isn't an official word or anything about
No,
him?
yeah, nothing
Okay.
yet.
Okay.
This game pretty much, because if Embiid plays, I think Kansas is probably top 2 or top 3 most talented team in the country and in this tournament. But without him, they're probably within that top 10 range, right around Cuse. I had Cuse earlier, but I'm gonna flip it to Kansas just because I think that Cuse is probably gonna struggle against KU's defense a little bit. But this could really, honestly, go either way.
But you're going...
But I'm going Kansas.
Okay. OG?
As the other Chris said, it really depends on if Embiid plays or not, and if I'm kind of assuming that he's not going to play, and without him, I kind of think that Kansas might struggle against the zone, and therefore I will give it to Syracuse.
Let's just, for all Kansas picks from here on out, let's just say Embiid is out.
Okay.
He's done. We're in a world that Embiid is not playing for Kansas this year.
Changes a lot.
Well, no, you're right. It does change a lot, but
honestly
it's so
does.
hard to speculate, even if he does come back, whether he'll be
Effective.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I was
okay,
gonna forget.
who are you going with? Kansas, you said?
Me, I'll take Kansas. I think Syracuse is faltering a little too much lately. I got Kansas.
OG, you said you had Kansas as well, right?
No, that's what I had Syracuse.
Oh, okay. All right. Ryan?
Yeah, like everyone else said, I was gonna, bring up the same points. How, it comes down to Embiid really, and if he's out, it's gonna be a lot tougher for Kansas to move on to the Elite Eight. That being said, I still think they do. I just like Kansas's athleticism a little bit more. I just think they have a little bit of an edge there, and Syracuse kind of gets stuck in some ruts. So I'll give it to Rock Chalk on that one.
Kansas moves on. I agree. I honestly think Kansas is going to win it all, regardless of if Embiid is there or not. I think the spotlight's on Wiggins right now, and he knows it, and he's playing for the number 1 overall pick right now. And I think that's in his mind.
I will say that the Sweet 16 is classic Kansas exit time.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Bill Self. So
Like last year.
yeah, exactly. So,
But I think this team's more talented than last year's team.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think they're a better team.
Oh
I
yeah.
think Wiggins definitely has a chance to just ball out.
Yeah, I think this is Wiggins' time to shine, and he knows it. I mean, he's been playing great. I mean, he ended the season on a nice little tear, and I mean, other than the Big 12 tournament, they probably should have won. Other than my favorite team, other than Wisconsin this year, we'll get to them later. So Kansas moves on. The 1-2. I think this might be the only bracket where 1-2 plays each other in the Elite Eight game, regardless of what we pick later. But I think this is one has the best chance. Florida versus Kansas. Probably at least 2 of the 4 best teams, I'd say, in the tournament this year, in my opinion. I'm going to go Kansas moving on.
I think without Embiid, Florida abuses Kansas inside. I think it's almost effortless for them in Memphis, to be honest. I think Florida wins handily.
Wow.
We talked about Kansas has more talent this year than in years past, but like we said on the last podcast, it's a lot of raw talent. A lot of talent that Bill Self hasn't had time to develop. Florida has talent. It's been there for a long time. They've gelled. They know how to play together. They've been in these situations before. Give me Florida moving on to the Final Four.
OG, or actually, Josh, let's go with you. I know who you're going to pick.
Yeah, I'm going Florida. I think they beat them second time of the year.
And OG, do you got Kansas, or am I the lone soldier here?
Well, considering I didn't even have Kansas getting this far,
Well,
I will go with Florida.
Florida. Wow, I didn't expect that. So my champion pick is gone. That's good to know. What region should we hit next? Oh, gee, I'll let you decide.
Let's go with the East, just because it's the region that Florida will be playing whoever comes out of it.
All right, Virginia, Coastal Carolina.
Yep.
Should we just move Virginia on?
Yep.
Move on.
Of course, Chanticleers.
What? Can somebody explain to me what that is?
It's a character. I just saw this today. It's a character from the Canterbury Tales.
They named a college mascot after that?
Yep.
That seems silly. Okay. Memphis, the number 8 seed, playing against the first president of the United States, which I think the fact that this guy can still ball at about 300 years old is pretty impressive. So I'm going to go with Memphis, considering the age of George Washington. That was a really bad joke, guys.
That was a Brian's bad joke right there.
Brian,
Yeah, I'm surprised nobody reacted to that, but let's just move on. Anybody have George Washington? Or, well, I guess I won't say that. Josh, who do you got?
I have George Washington winning. Just
All right.
got George Washington winning.
Are you just not a Memphis believer?
I don't know too much about these teams. I'm just taking George Washington.
Because he was our first president and you love America?
Exactly. America.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Take Memphis. We talked, I think, in the last podcast about how Memphis really, every time they're on, like in a game that has some implications, they don't seem to show up. But I think that this is a little different here. They should be able to get past George Washington, even though it's technically an 8-9 matchup. So I got the Tigers moving on here.
I can't trust Memphis as far as I can throw them, and that's not very far. George Washington abused Creighton a few months back in the John Wooden Classic in Anaheim. I think that continues, and I think George Washington continues to play good defense, and Memphis just falls flat like they've done under Josh Pastner in the last few years. It seems like just something that's going to be given so far with this team as they continue on with Pastner if things don't improve. They got walloped by UConn the other night. It was
They did.
embarrassing.
Yeah,
How they-
no, I'm totally with that.
Mm-hmm.
OG for the tiebreak.
I now know one thing about George Washington, and I think that's enough to make me change my pick to them over. So I will put George Washington through over Memphis.
What is the one thing? The one thing that 3.0 just said?
Yeah, that they abused Creighton. I didn't not even.
Yeah,
know
they held them to under 50 points,
I think I remember that game.
or
now.
just above 53. I'm sorry.
I think I remember actually watching that game, and I just totally had forgotten about it until now.
Hey,
Yeah,
George Washington moved on. A lot of Memphis haters in the building. I'm surprised.
Memphis has cost me like 5 games in the pick'em thing.
Yeah,
Roughly.
no, that's well. See, the thing is with Memphis is I'm so biased because a good friend of mine is such a huge Memphis fan that it's tough for me to look at them through normal goggles without thinking of him. So that's probably why I'm picking Memphis. But George Washington moves on. Cincinnati against the nerdiest of the nerds, Harvard. This seems to be a trendy upset pick, which I tend to agree with. I'm not a big fan of one-man teams, specifically because teams like that seem to take Wisconsin out every year. So I'm going to go with Harvard. Moving on with the upset here.
I'm taking Cincinnati. Despite all the upset talk, I think Cincinnati's had a very sneaky good season. But like you said, they don't have a lot of star power. They're kind of a one-man team.
At least on
still
offense.
I still like that over Harvard. I haven't seen Cincinnati play a ton of games. They did play Nebraska, but that was a different Nebraska team. They blew the doors off of them. But other than that, I haven't seen a ton of Cincinnati. A full game since then, really. But I still like them over Harvard, over the fight of Jeremy Lin's.
Josh?
I have Cincinnati moving on further than just past the next round, so I'm taking Cincy. But I didn't realize how good Harvard's statistics were. I was just checking them out. They're pretty solid. I didn't realize that either, so I was tempted to go
But
with the upset.
despite all that,
Yeah, I was about to change my bracket, but I'm sticking with Cincy.
let's hear from the Chris's.
Number you need to watch out for: 3-point field goal percentage. Harvard, 39%, which is 22nd best in the country. Cincinnati, 33.5%, 207th in the country. Since he can't score, Sean Kilpatrick will do everything that he can. Give me the Harvard Crimson in this one.
I'm with that. I like that. OG,
I
tiebreakers on you.
also went with Harvard. It seems like every year they're either in the tournament and are a trendy upset pick or a trendy upset pick and then miss the tournament. I think they might actually get it done this year.
I'm just not a big fan of one man offenses in the tournament, especially. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. So Harvard moves on. I like that. I like the upsets. Do the upsets keep going? Michigan State, who apparently everyone in the world thinks is the best team in the country, all of a sudden, against who do we got? Delaware.
Michigan
Party
State.
on.
Yeah, Michigan State might have done themselves a disservice by winning the Big Ten tournament because they could have gotten a lower seed and just rolled through their bracket. But that being said, I'm going to take Michigan State here. The fighting Joe Flacco's don't have anything on Sparty.
Does anyone have Delaware moving on? I didn't think so. I mean, I know Michigan State's good. I get it, but I don't see where. I mean, everyone. I mean, ESPN. That's all they're talking about. Nobody else has anybody but Michigan State winning it.
I mean, Izzo knows how to coach in March. I mean,
yeah, okay, whatever.
they're getting hot at the right time. That's what you could say.
I mean, I understand all the factors that play into it. It just seems so weird to me that it's seemingly the biggest lock tournament history.
Well,
This
the one
bracket
seed,
is
the
such
one
a
seed in that,
dumpster fire, too.
the
Yeah,
one seed
no.
in that regional is Virginia, and that's the weakest one seed in the field. So I think that's
And
where
the
a lot of
weak-
that comes from.
and the weakest 2 seed.
Yeah.
Moving on, Providence, the Big East champs against North Carolina. You know what? I don't really trust this North Carolina team. I don't think they're really that good, just to be completely honest with you. And I think their 6th seed is based on name recognition alone. So I'm going to go Providence. The dream season continues.
Shout out to Creighton. Every time that I would like Creighton to win a basketball game, they fall flat on their faces, and they lose to Providence in the Big East tournament and give Providence an automatic bid. Thought for sure we were going to be in that play-in game after that. I've got the Tar Heels.
You have a way to tie Nebraska into freaking everything,
You
don't
know
you?
I
Good
do.
God.
I got the-
Freaking believable. I'm rooting for them to lose just because of you. You're killing my Nebraska ball vibe, but whatever. We're not talking about them. So you got who do you
Tar-
have
Tar
moving on?
Heels
I didn't mean to
moving on.
interrupt you.
No,
But
you
just
did.
you're grinding my gears over here.
Tar Heels
Who do you
moving
have?
on.
I didn't even get Tar Heels. Okay.
Oh, gee.
I feel like Providence might be able to do to North Carolina what they did to Creighton, and therefore can pull off the upset. So give me Providence.
3.0.
I like the Tar Heels. I think they'll do a good job of playing up to the competition in this tournament. But if there's anybody in the country right now that can really lead his team to victory, it's Bryce Cotton, who's nearly averaging 40 minutes a game, which is just insane.
So you're going.
I'm going with UNC, but Bryce Cotton could help Providence at the same time.
Josh, tiebreakers on you, bud.
I hope Providence wins, but I think UNC takes. I think they're too talented, and UNC rolls on to the next round.
Way to be ballsy, kid. Next game, the 3 versus 4 team matchup: North Carolina Central against my Iowa State Cyclones.
Does anybody even have NC Central?
Yeah. Should we just move ISU on?
It sucks that NC Central got matched up with them because I think they could have gotten an upset.
Not against Iowa State, though.
No, especially in San Antonio, Iowa State fans are going to travel really well down there.
UConn against St. Joe's, the 7-10. St. Joe seems to be another trendy upset pick here. 3.0. Let's start with you. Let's keep your thoughts rolling on this.
Give me Shabazz Napier and UConn.
Make that 2. I agree with that as well.
I also heard UConn. Oh, Ryan can go.
No,
Sorry.
that's fine. I'm taking UConn as well. They're just, yeah, I like Shabazz Napier. I mean, just an excellent guard. I think that they can beat St. Joe's.
I'm also going with UConn. They've been playing well, so I'm going to stick with them. Nova against, God, I can't even read this.
Milwaukee.
Yeah, that's what
Milwaukee.
I thought it said.
Nova verse doesn't even matter.
Is that the Bulls? I mean, not the Bulls. Is that the Bucks? Are the Bucks actually bad enough to be in the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, I think so. So is Nova moving on? Anybody? I think we're chalk with that.
Move them on.
Virginia against George Washington. Apparently, George Washington is everyone's favorite team this year, according to you guys. Does anyone have George Washington?
No.
Nope.
Move on.
Wahoos.
You know what's funny? I think Memphis can beat Virginia, but we're
I
not
don't think
that.
people are giving Virginia enough credit. I love that team, by the way. I think they're going to do some damage, but we'll continue on.
Harvard against Michigan State. Is this where Sparty falters?
Nope. I got Sparty Rock moving on.
Sparty all the way. Anybody got Harvard winning this one?
I had
Miracle, but no.
I had Cincinnati beating Michigan State in my bracket. I think Michigan State's going to slip up somewhere. But
Agreed.
Sparty on.
Okay, moving on. UNC versus Iowa State. I know who I'm picking here. I'm going to go with my Cyclones. I love this Cyclones team. I love them. I think they're really, really good.
Yeah, I got Iowa State as well. I really like how they're playing. I like Fred Hoiberg, and yeah, they take all the transfers from places that are ready kids for troubles and turn them around. So, but I like Iowa State over UNC there.
Yep. Ejim, Niang, and Kane are a trio that's a problem.
A big problem. Especially when their best player is a great distributor. That's where I think that, like, if one of them isn't having a good game, the other one can, and if that guy's not having a good, I think that I like their three-headed monster they got. Love them. I love Iowa State. I'm gonna keep sucking on the Iowa State teat all night.
Get a little fuck UNC in here and go Cyclones.
OG.
I also have Iowa State for the sweep.
And okay.
Glorious day right there.
UConn at Nova. I hate Villanova. This Villanova team, I think they're awful.
Same.
I don't even know if they'll beat Milwaukee, to be honest with you. But I'm gonna pick Nova to move on.
Funny thing about this
Or pick
game,
UConn. I'm sorry, UConn.
funny thing about this game is when I filled it out on my bracket, I originally put down Nova, and then I looked at it and I was like, "What am I doing? Why am I putting faith in Villanova?" And scratched it out and wrote UConn above it. So I got the Huskies moving on.
Me too. Huskies go back to the Garden.
I got Shabazz and UConn Huskies 1 and 2 as well. I don't like Villanova.
For all the all the tight picks for the play-in games, we sort of have been pretty unanimous on this bracket, it seems like, and I will continue that trend and go UConn.
Yeah, it's kind of weird how that's working out. Anyways, Virginia, Michigan State.
I feel like it's going to end here.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna go. This is a tough one for me because it may be all the hype Michigan State's getting that's making me kind of sour on them. I mean, they are a talented team. Yeah, I'm gonna go last. Somebody else go.
I'll jump in. I'm going Michigan State.
I will back. Oh, right, Josh, you can go.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna take Virginia. I think they got it. Again, Michigan State's a little to a grade, in my opinion.
Last 6 teams to win the Big Ten tournament all made the Sweet 16. Only one has made the Elite Eight. That was Ohio State last year, who lost against Wichita State, of course. Give me Virginia.
Hell yeah.
I really like Tony Bennett as a coach, but I actually like the Michigan, minus the hype that they're getting right now. I really like the Michigan State team when they're healthy, and it seems like they're pretty healthy at this point. So I will take Michigan State.
Tiebreaker on me, huh?
Yeah, no
as
pressure.
much as I do kind of like this Virginia team, it is weird that I don't know if they're going to be able to handle the number one pressure as well as some of these other teams, because that really does put a target on your back, being the number one seed. And Michigan State's a tough matchup for anybody. And another stat I heard last night, which is extremely interesting, and I'm not exactly sure how accurate this is. It's maybe ESPN made up nonsense, but they said no 4-year senior under Tom Izzo has not seen a Final Four.
I did see that, I think, too.
I saw that too.
Which is kind of insane to me to think about. But regardless, I'm going to go Michigan State. Moving on. Sorry, Josh. The ACC dream ends. Next up, Iowa State at UConn. You all already know my pick here. I think I've made that pretty clear.
You are going Iowa State. Josh is going Iowa State too?
Yep.
I got
I'm
the Cyclones as well.
going to go with UConn. I think that Iowa State might slip up. I don't really know why, besides just the fact that it just feels like the type pick that they're destined to lose at some point, even though they're really talented and really hot right now. I think they might just run into a game where they're missing their threes instead of making them, and if that's the case, they're going to be in trouble.
3.0.
This one's going to be fun. I mean, UConn back at the Garden after, of course, leaving the Big East. They're going to get probably a pretty big fan contingent there. Honestly, all things considered, besides Villanova, they're probably going to be the fan base at this point since Syracuse isn't around anymore that gets some biggest purchases of tickets for that region, and UConn fans are going to flock down there. But I have Ejim, Kane, and Niang advancing to the Elite Eight.
All right. And you know what's funny? This seems to be like I haven't really seen anybody not have Michigan State, Iowa State here. It's weird.
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't.
Got one person.
Oh, there's one. Okay, there's one.
I don't either, so that's 2.
Oh, Jesus. All right, well, now, since I'm an idiot, Jesus Christ. Michigan State, Iowa State. Honestly, this should be, if this happens, which I think it will, it'll be a great game. I think you guys, again, I love this Iowa State team. So I'm going to stick with my Cyclones. I love them. I love DeAndre Kane. I have a man crush on him.
I'm going to go B1G. Give me Michigan State.
No, OG got it.
I will back Ryan up here and go with the B1Z and Michigan State.
I had Virginia beating Iowa State. I'm tempted to put Iowa State in the Final Four, but yeah, put Iowa State for me.
3.0, the tiebreaker. Who you got? This is big. This is big
Iowa
for a lot
State
of
for me
reasons.
as well.
Iowa State?
Mm-hmm.
I love it. See, now I don't know. Now that I feel like all these people are picking Iowa State, I don't like them as much anymore.
So do we
Is that
pick?
weird? Does that make me a worse person?
I think I just put Iowa State in my Final Four now, too. I just changed it up.
I
should
love
we
Iowa
pick
State.
Florida versus Iowa State before we
Wrap
switch
it up.
to half the bracket, or should we wait?
No, let's wait. Let's do the Final Four at the
Final
end.
Four and
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, that wraps up part 1 of the tournament bracket special. As usual, follow us on AWR Podcast, or at AWR Podcast on Twitter. Check out the website, all your one-stop shop for all things NCAA Tournament March Madness. Are we recording blog.wordpress.com? And be sure to check back tomorrow for part 2. We'll pick the other side and tell you who our champion is. Go Cubs.